Well, with the first CDL Major in the books, let's recap this weekend's events. What's going on, guys? Jay Hoyt back with you. Today, welcome back to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We are back here on Ranked Play. And yes, we've actually been playing a little bit in the last week or so, getting back in the swing of things and slowly getting back into actually winning some games, which hasn't happened, in a bit. So I'm glad to be back in there. CDL though, Major number 1 was this past weekend. We had some predictions where we kind of felt the top teams were going to show that they were the top, and boy, was I kind of right, but not for our hometown green wall. So let's start, of course, with that matchup. First round, Optic versus Heretics. We predicted this one to be 3-0-3-1. Ends up going game 5, right? Not Optic's way. They get dropped down to the losers bracket first thing. Obviously, not what we'd expect, from a squad that is the number 1 team, at least, from the first major so far. Not what we wanted to see. But they have a chance, right? Getting dropped down, they had a pretty, I don't want to say decent chance given their matchups, but they had a pretty decent chance given their matchups. But then you go down to the second match where you had the Carolina Royal Ravens versus the LA Thieves. That one should have been a good one, right? Carolina was the number 1 team for a long time, at least as far as the standings went. And they looked pretty good most of the time, but there was some matches where, they kind of struggled a little bit. But I felt like this one, I think we predicted Thieves to win this one, because I think it was Optic Thieves in winners round 1, where it should have been a really close battle, and it was a 3-1, right? So the Thieves do end up walking away with that. They move on to round 2. Next matchup, quick and easy for the Toronto Ultra, 3-0 fashion over the Seattle Surge. Not super surprised about that, right? Ultra has looked really good this year. I don't want to say surprisingly, but just given that team, doesn't really seem good on paper. But you know what? They showed up, proved me wrong. Next matchup had the Boston Breach versus Atlanta Faze. This one, second 3-0 of the first round. Faze moves on to the next round. But let's catch up in the losers bracket, though. We got a couple of rounds to get through. So Optic, after they drop down, they get LA Gorilla Mates in the first round. Both crowds for this one were insane. There was a huge section for the Gorilla Mates. They went nuts, right? But this one for Optic, another Game 5 victory, which is great. Glad they're winning Game 5s, but versus Heretics and versus the LA Gorilla Mates, we should not be going Game 5 versus these teams at all. But still, first match is on land. I don't want to say first match jitters, but gotta work on that, right? They lost their first couple of hard points in a while and just didn't really look like them. So now they have land experience this year and know how this game feels on land. Hopefully they will apply that for the next major. But next matchup had the Carolina Royal Ravens versus the Falcons. This one, Falcons didn't stand a chance, right? 3-0 fashion. And something they talked about, I think it was on the Flank, I guess it's not really a podcast, but show, if you will. They were talking about how nobody wanted to scrim the Falcons because, 1, they've been doing awful this year, and 2, they just made a roster change. So nobody really kind of wanted to play them because they weren't a true test. Like, that'd be playing like some high school kids. Like, yeah, they can shoot back, get some kills a little bit, but like, if you're beating a team like 250 to 50, you're not really getting much out of it. Like, yeah, you're frying them, don't get me wrong, but like, doesn't really teach you anything. It doesn't really help you that if you guys matched up would be like, yeah, they do this a lot, they do that a lot. It's, Falcons still just trying to figure it out overall. But Falcons out round 1. Next matchup had the Surge and the røkkr. This one, røkkr does win in game 4. Surge double first rounded, and they are out of here. Next matchup has the Breach versus Cloud9. This one, Cloud9 gets the victory in the game 5. And if I remember correctly, this was the match where Sib actually came alive and did quite well, right? Sib has been a really good player for a while, but for whatever reason this year just can't figure it out. Not a good start to the year for him. So I guess not hopefully for him, but I guess hopefully for him, he will start to turn around for at least for his own team's sake. But on to elimination bracket round number 2. Featured Optic Texas versus the Royal Ravens. And this one, given the circumstance, I was pretty confident. Right? Both teams losing, dropping down. Unfortunately, though, Optic goes to Game 5 versus the LA Gorilla Mates. Royal Ravens, I don't want to say get an easy 3-0, but get a relatively easier matchup, win that one 3-0. So Carolina came out. I watched this matchup. They were shooting. Right, they were shooting well. They were trading well, playing well. They just looked straight up better in that matchup, in that match. So, I don't know what to say about Optic, but they do lose in elimination bracket. Round number 2, Carolina moves on. Second matchup, though, has the røkkr versus Cloud9. This is where Cloud9, unfortunately, goes out and ruins Sib's, I guess, return to form, if you will. But røkkr, 3-1 victory. They move on to round 3. But in order to move on with the bracket, we got to jump back up to the winners side, where we had the Heretics versus the Thieves in winners bracket round number 2. This one, nice and easy 3-0 for the LA Thieves. Right, they move on to the winners finals, awaiting the winner of our next matchup, which would be Ultra versus Faze. And this one, we predicted these two to be here. However, we did not predict a 3-0 for Faze, right? They double 3-0 in the first round here. Faze on to the winners bracket finals. But that does bring a couple losers down to the elimination bracket. Round number 3, where we had the Carolina Royal Ravens versus the Toronto Ultra. And in this one, the Royal Ravens do go Game 5, right? That is incredible, right? Royal Ravens do take out Ultra, and they move on to round 4. Then my next matchup has the Heretics versus the røkkr. And this one goes Game 5 as well. I feel like there's a ton of Game 5s. Like, it's either 3-0s or Game 5s. But Heretics does win this one. røkkr bow out. I think that'd be top 6, I believe. And then, of course, getting down to the final 4 teams being the Thieves and Faze in the winners bracket finals, along with the Carolina Royal Ravens and the Heretics in losers bracket round number 4. Where, I guess we'll start with that one. Heretics do take this one, taking out the Royal Ravens that looked very good in this tournament, at least against Optic anyway. But they win 3-1, move on to the elimination bracket finals, where they await the winner of our next matchup. An absolute banger of a series. Faze, Thieves, Game 5. What else could you ask for? Faze do end up walking away with that one in the Game 5, right? Nothing better than that between two, Goliaths of a team. But then they drop down. Thieves go down, face off against the Heretics. This one, though, not close. 3-0 fashion. Heretics bow out top 3. Being in Spain, obviously, that's a huge accomplishment for them. So that's awesome to see, but not awesome because Optic wasn't there. Either way, that sets up a rematch with our winners finals, with the grand finals being Faze versus Thieves. This one goes Game 7. Faze walks away with the first victory of the year. Got a little testy towards the end there. I think it was Draza and Scrap both going kind of back and forth, talking shit to each other, and then not fist bumping at the end. Crazy scenes to watch, crazy event nonetheless. But that does bring us out to some updated standings. Where in first place, we have Atlanta Faze, right? 170 CDL points, 12-3 series count. Second place, we have the LA Thieves, 125 points, 8-5 series count. The Royal Ravens in third, 10-5 overall, 115 CDL points. In fourth place, we have the Toronto Ultra, 90 CDL points. Optic Texas in fifth place right now, 85 points for them. In sixth place, we have Heretics, 80 points for them. And this is kind of where it starts. We have the top 5, then after that, such a question mark. But then we have the Minnesota røkkr, 60 CDL points, 6-7 overall. Boston Breach round out the top 8 with 50 CDL points, 5-5 overall. And then down in 9th through 12th, we have the Vancouver Surge, not the Seattle Surge. The Vancouver Surge at 40 CDL points. Cloud9 New York at 25 points. LA Gorilla Mates at 20 CDL points. And last, but certainly definitely least, because they're not very good, the Vegas Falcons, 0 CDL points, 0-9 overall, 4-27 map count. It's just one of those situations where I'm glad they brought over a new region with some new eyeballs, but at the same time, if you're trying to be competitive, start in challengers, right? Learn how to play, the game fully before you try to buy into a league that you're not going to have any success with. So good luck to them the rest of the way, but this is how the CDL standings turn out, at least going into Major 2. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.